Today we are going to talk about how to avoid burnout, or rather I'm going to share the way I lived that caused my burnout. I'm going to outline it as a list so you easily can follow along and perhaps take note of what of these points that you are actually hitting as well. If you like this video, I would appreciate if you smoothly push that little like button. Always being reachable, that is people being able to text you, call you, email you, and you having notifications on to tell you that that is what's going on. It will break your focus from what you're doing and will change your agenda from what you're doing to maybe I should be doing this instead. During the last 6 months, when my life was at its most intense, the marketing chief, he actually left, and I was the person that usually just did smaller stuff. Now I was the one people was calling out to.
Yeah, can we fix this? Can you do this?
It just overflooded my email and phone even more. So it was just a lot of extra stuff that fell down my lap, and so I could have the CEO call me afternoon Saturday to want me to help out with things. So, those things added up. Not being able to prioritize. What is important? What do I need to do today? Having so many things on your to-do list that it's hard for you to decide,
should I do that thing or that thing?
And instead you just end up doing all at the same time. Multitasking. I can literally feel how my brain starts to work on overload as soon as I start to do 2 or 3 tasks at the same time. I thought I was great at that until I wasn't. And then I realized I never was. It always drained me a little bit. I just didn't feel it back then.
And in a bigger perspective, this is even more important because you can't prioritize which way you want to go in life. You will be conflicted. Should I be working with this or this? Scattered focus results in scattered results.
Decision fatigue. That is putting too much energy into decisions that really don't matter. Like, should I pick that banana or that banana? Should I wear those clothes or those clothes? I'm pro at doing this. It takes energy, not only in the moment, but it will also follow you subconsciously, because if you don't make a decision, it will work on you in the background. You don't have the budget to spend all that mind energy on thinking about things that really doesn't matter when you zoom out a bit. Overthinking your social role, overanalyzing what people think of you, what you thought of the conversation you just had. I'm prone to analyzing what's going on because you have to do that to some extent to get better, but when you overdo it, it costs you, and it will just get a habit to overanalyze everything because every conversation you now have goes through this analysis. I can think about what people said to me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even worse, things I said to a person, because I judge myself even harder. It costs you so much energy. Being a perfectionist. Never feeling satisfied enough because you can always do more. The thing is, going that extra mile, when you're 80% good enough, but you want to get it all the way to 100%, that extra costs you so much. Not only in mind energy, but the time you have to put in to go that extra mile. It's never worth it, or maybe sometimes, but you have to learn to be satisfied with what is enough. This is especially true when it comes to creative work, because you can always twist it, change it, do a bit more. And to some people maybe that is perfect, and to some it's not. So it's just something you have to be comfortable with, not being perfect. I could spend hours just trying to fabricate the perfect email to some not so important contact. So it's just like trying to be perfect in every area. It's not durable. Always consuming content, always stimulating your mind. When I was on the bike, when I was walking, when I was dishing, whatever I did that was able to be done while doing something else, multitasking, I consumed podcasts, YouTube, audiobooks, taking the opportunity to learn something. but the mind needs to process everything you take in, and it just gets filled up with so much information that it wears it down eventually. The mind needs to rest, it needs to process, and it can only do that while sleeping or while actually just being in the present. And I was a pro at this. I got anxiety as soon as I didn't consume anything because I saw it as wasted opportunity.
Oh my god, I can't do my dishes without listening to something.
I got seriously stressed out not consuming when I had an opportunity to do so. Worrying too much. And now I'm not talking about the social situations, but rather, life.
Will the stock market crash? What kind of life should I be living? Will I get robbed when I go home this late?
My grandma is like the super person of worry. She worries about everything, and it's actually a good reminder for me to not worry so much. So just being that worrying nutcase drains you. Living with a constant feeling of never doing enough things. Your list of all your to-dos is so long that there's no way you can do them, but you put up goals, you imagine yourself doing all these things throughout the day, but you never reach even half of that list. And that thing, living with the sense of never being good enough, never performing enough, will make you feel like a real failure. Learning how to set realistic goals, it's kind of a big deal. And I'm still a big victim of that. I'm so time optimistic of what I can do in an hour, in a day, that it's crazy. Not daring to say no, not daring to close doors. Always wanting to have as many opportunities open as possible.
I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this.
Never daring to settle for a path.
Maybe I want to be an engineer, maybe I want to be a pilot, maybe I want to be a filmmaker.
And then you try to do all these things at the same time, ending up really not accomplishing much in any area because you're just too greedy and believing that you think you can do it all. I'm a pro at this. Have to dare to say no to people when the colleague asks you for a favor, can you do this and can you do that?
Oh, I'm a good person, I'm helping someone out, and oh, now I will get new opportunities to do this and this because I showed myself being able to do this. Now when I'm studying this field, I can do that thing as well.
Have to learn to say no. Training, workout, hard, daily, pushing yourself to the limit, listening to David Goggins, and then push yourself even further than you thought was possible. I did it. I trained daily and I did it hard. And the thing is, I read about how great it was to work out because it would actually push your system to adapt better to handling stress, which is true, but when you add it up with everything else that I've just told you, it becomes an extra load. And when you're not recuperating, when you're not taking the time to rest and rebuild yourself, you're just tearing yourself down instead. You need to find a balance. And a clear sign is when you start to get a lot of injuries like shoulder pain, knee, back, all these things which happened to me. I'm still struggling with this one, finding the balance of doing enough because I feel so great. The dopamine kick, the sense of just shaking life in yourself. I used it as a tool to get energy. When I worked so much and I slept barely nothing, I was exhausted. By pushing myself, doing a hard workout, it gave me energy, it gave me adrenaline and all these good emotions, so it made me possible to push me even further in the other situations. These physical inputs like cold showers and eating less, fasting is another thing that will also stress your body. It's a stress not eating, and it's super good in some situations, but when you put it all together, it just loads your system. Facing fears daily, well, I did that, and it also added to the stress load. It's a great way of developing, but when you have so many other things, you can't do it all at once. That's a tough lesson for me, and the way I face fears today is, well, a whole lot more deeper connected to awareness and what state I am in. So that's what made me eventually burn out. And remember, all these things that I just talked about, It wasn't one or two or three of these things that made it happen. It was the whole picture, everything coming together, overloading the system. It doesn't matter if you love what you're doing, if you're enjoying every goddamn minute of it. Or well, to some extent it does if you listen to Kelly McKennical's book about stress. Your mindset about what is stressing your system and not is greatly important, but that only works to a certain amount. In the end, you do need those resting hours in there, and I didn't give myself that, and that's why I ended up breaking down like I did, and still am working on that recuperation. It's hard, because when you're used to doing things at a certain level and then having to reconfigure yourself to do something else, which in your own world is like a failure way of doing it.
Oh my god, lazy bastard, not doing it enough.
It's super tough. It's so tough. Yeah, you're rewriting your whole idea of who you are as a person. But that's the lesson you have to learn and how you need to adapt to get back. I hope you can take this in, and maybe if you're in a good place, great for you. And if you're not, ask yourself what you can do to better your situation. And if you'd like to, I can make a video about the things that have benefited me the most recuperating and adapting to a life which is more sustainable. Also, if you have a friend that maybe you think is overdoing it, share this video with that person. And I will see you in the next one.